Let's start the show by talking about my sponsor, Paloma Verde, and their new website, palomaverdecbd.com. Head over to palomaverdecbd.com and check them out for all of your CBD needs. They've got the gummies, tinctures, salves. So if you're needing anything to maybe chill you out, something to help you get mellowed out, something for your joint pain and stiffness, go over to palomaverdecbd.com and give them a check out. Carlos and Vanessa are awesome people. They run a great company. And if you enter the promo code FACTS at checkout, you'll get 25% off your order. Plus, any order over $75, you get free shipping. So, I don't know what you're waiting for. Head over to palomaverdecbd.com and check them out. Let's start the show. This episode will be completely taken out of context. Welcome to the Fact Check This podcast.
All right, Fact Check This podcast, and as promised, today we are going to talk about why has fact-checking disappeared under Biden. And I thought, to be fair, we can go on this journey together. I'm not sure this is an article from The Hill, so I'm sure it's going to spin it off as some bullshit about how Biden is actually so much more honest and the number of lies Trump told per day or some dumb shit like that. I actually saw that what was it? They said that Trump told like 22 lies a day on average or something. Like, this is something from some Twitter expert, but I guess I can't say anything. I'm a Twitter expert myself. Yeah, so I'm sure it's going to go something in that direction, but nonetheless, we're going to go on this journey together. So for those of you who are watching the video, you get to maybe read along, and if you're not, you can listen to me redneck my way through attempting to read, because that always goes so well. So let's see what we got here. Why has fact-checking disappeared under Biden? By Joe Concha, an opinion contributor on September 18th. And this is in The Hill. Fact-checking under President Biden was a bustling business. Wow. See, I told you. You get to join me as I attempt to read and fail miserably. This is what happens when you're from the South. I read great in my head, but out loud, less so. Fact-checking under President Trump was a bustling business. Seemingly every day, and sometimes by the hour, the 45th president, every word was scrutinized, which all comes with the job. But under President Biden, fact-checkers are enjoying what feels like extended vacations, or have simply checked out in terms of scrutinizing the many ways that he is misleading the public. The CNN fact-checker Daniel Dale, as a prime example of apathy around holding the current president accountable. From June 2019 to November of 2020, Dale appeared or was mentioned on CNN more than once per day on average, according to Mediate, estimating conservatively. That's more than 500 appearances or mentions on a national network in just a span of 16 months. But Dale has become the fact-checker version of Edward Snowden under Biden. He's almost impossible to find these days. In fact, Dale has not conducted even one fact-check of the president since June. Of course, Biden supporters will insist that Dale simply doesn't have to have material to work with. But that's not true. In August, Biden declared that inflation in July was zero, despite the number being near a 40-year high at 8.3%. Last week, Biden claimed the Inflation Reduction Act, which numerous studies have concluded will do almost nothing to reduce inflation, had already helped reduce inflation at the kitchen table. In a related story, food prices rose again in August, with the Consumer Price Index up 10.6% year over year. There are many other examples from the summer, but you get the point. The most powerful man in the country needs to be held accountable for his words and actions, particularly in an election year when each side is attempting to shape the narrative through the press. But fact-checkers at mainstream outlets refuse to do it. The situation is worse when it comes to White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre. She has been fact-checked only once by PolitiFact since June. This is the same press secretary who claimed earlier this month that people aren't just walking into this country across the U.S. southern border, when in fact it's happening daily per border agents and reporting on the ground. She also claimed the Biden administration is doing a lot more than the Trump administration to secure the border. Yep. She claimed that the administration had halted border wall construction and ended the effective Remain in Mexico policy, is doing more than the previous administration to secure the border. In a related story, the numbers don't lie. More than 2 million migrants will come into this country illegally this year, an all-time record. This is the easiest of fact checks to make, but PolitiFact doesn't seem interested. Why? Overall, since taking over for Jen Psaki on May 13th, Jean-Pierre has not been fact-checked at all by factcheck.org, the Associated Press, Reuters, Washington Post, or CNN. This is the equivalent of being a toll collector in an easy pass lane, a job that doesn't require, actually working. The perception of the fact checkers has been taking a big hit as a result, at least amongst Republicans and independents. A Pew Research survey found that 7 in 10 self-identified Republicans say fact checkers favor one side, while nearly half of independents feel the same. The midterm elections are 50 days from now, and the balance of power in Washington hangs in the balance. More than ever, words matter. Lies and half-truths must be called out, and it shouldn't matter if a Republican or a Democrat occupies the Oval Office. Fact checkers must hold lawmakers and other public officials accountable without favor to party. But apparently, fact checkers are mostly on a 4-year sabbatical at this point, and it's pathetic. I was pleasantly surprised by that. I was not expecting such a open and forthcoming opinion piece out of the Hill, but that was some pretty good stuff, and it hits on a lot of the stuff that I've been talking about for some years now, for literally as long as I've been doing this show, and honestly before that, and which is a large part of the reason why I started doing the show to begin with. The fact checkers consistently, time and time again, only fact check the facts that it's fortuitous to them to fact check. They play to a very specific audience, which that should be infuriating to the general populace more than anything else, is the fact that CNN, the Washington Post, Reuters, New York Times, PolitiFact, factcheck.org, or whatever, they are exclusively catering to the left. They do not care about fully a third of the country. Because let's not pretend that 100% of the people who live in this country are voting or are political, or especially are progressive leftists. 70 plus million people voted for Trump in 2020. If you believe the numbers, 80-ish million voted for Biden. In a country of upwards of 330,000, that's half, if even. 330 million. Wow. Still, that's half, if even that. So they are exclusively catering to a third of the population, because the people in the middle, the ones who don't vote and stuff like that, it's granted now a lot of these are kids too, but the ones who aren't voting, there's a level of apathy that the system has created, and seeing things play out the way they have been, where it is so just blatantly one-sided, that doesn't instill trust or hope in a system for those people. That's just going to push them further towards, this is why I don't vote to begin with. The whole thing is fucked and it doesn't work. And that's the really interesting thing about looking at this fact-checking stuff. And that's something that I've been talking about pretty consistently, is when you do look at it, the times that they do fact-check the left, they don't give honest representations of this. Like this guy goes through and explains what's actually going on at the border, and how Karine Jean-Pierre is just completely trash on everything everything that comes out of her mouth is total horseshit. In the events that there is a fact check of something that a left-winger says, the way they run it and the way they spin it is they try to explain why, that was wrong, but it wasn't actually wrong. And here's why. Because this is what they meant, or this is some extended context of something that is completely unrelated to what they were talking about. Like, there's always this twist. There's always this spin. And the really fucked up thing about that part is that because nobody takes the time to go and dig into this stuff, like, that's been my bitch with the fact-checking thing for as long as I've been looking at this stuff, is that it's a headline that says fact-checked wrong or false, fact-checked misleading, fact-checked missing context. And then the first paragraph just kind of says that over again, like, so-and-so said this and this and this, but actually, that's not right. And then if you continue to read, that's where you find out that it actually is right. They just don't like the way it was said. Well, whenever they do the fact check of somebody on the left, what they'll run with is, well, fact check as mostly true, or partially true, or a little bit true, or an iota true. Like, the left is true. They're always true. It wasn't incorrect. It was mostly true, or somewhat true. It was hinting around possibly being true one of these days if all of our tarot card readings are right. And in that first paragraph, they go on to give some like complete mental gymnastic explanation of why what was said was maybe not true, but it's technically not wrong, or some bullshit such as that. And then if you continue to read through it, you find out that the whole thing is horseshit, and like you know, Corinne Jean-Pierre and literally everything that comes out of her fucking mouth. The fact checkers are bought and paid for. And I've gone through this too. Just look at the Pointer Group. Like, the Pointer Group is the ones that fund PolitiFact and FactCheck.org, I'm pretty sure. Like, and their entire funding is DNC and left-wing organization based. So it's no fucking surprise that when you have an administration that can barely string together two sentences, period, much less two factual sentences, they all disappear. Because that's where their money's coming from. They are paid not to look at that stuff, not to point out to the American public, hey, these people are every bit of the liars that the last administration was. In fact, more so. In fact, more maliciously and deliberately. Because and that was the really funny thing about it, most of Trump's fact checks on stuff that he said could seriously be interpreted, or could seriously be taken back to the fact that he didn't know what the fuck he was talking about. Like, he wasn't up there making factual statements. He was running his fucking mouth and doing the things that he does to piss off the left most of the time. He wasn't attempting to say, well, this is how it is, and you should believe me because I'm Dr. Truth Science. He was just running his fucking mouth to piss off the left, and successfully doing it. I mean, he was the king of the trolls. This administration is up there selling this as fact. Like, look here, Jack. We don't have a border problem. We're going to reduce inflation. We're going to go after the billionaires. We're not coming for you if you're just making less than $140,000 a year. Your taxes aren't going to get increased. When are we going to start talking about any of this shit? When are the fact checkers going to go through and look at every fucking Biden speech over the last year and a half and pick them apart and say, all right, these are all the things that he said, and these are all the times that he fucking outright ball-faced lied. Or was just straight up fucking wrong. It'll never happen. They did that. They did that. I gotta find it. There's actually like a full fact check, like fucking novella from one of these dumbass leftist rags that they took every Trump speech and explained all the things that he lied about. When are we getting that from one of these on the Biden administration? If I had the time and the bandwidth to sit down and do it, I would absolutely do it. That would be my life's work for the rest of the calendar year, is to go through every Biden speech and create a full catalog on my Substack of every lie that he's told over the last year and a half. And who knows, maybe I should do that. I'm finishing up the house, just about done with everything, and I'm gonna need a new hobby. Like, send me links to every Biden speech that he's given over the last year and a half, and I may sit down and start doing that, because somebody needs to fucking do it. Somebody needs to go in and break it down, every single lie that bastard has told over the last year and a half, because they did it to Trump, and they probably, fuck George Bush, but they probably did it to Bush. I guarantee you nobody fact checked a single goddamn thing Obama said for 8 fucking years, because they're not paid to do it to the left. Follow the money. That is always, always, always where you find the real truth and what's going on in mainstream media. That'll do it for today. I will be back on Monday to talk about, I don't know. Oh, I think pandemic is over. COVID has officially ended. So we will probably be doing a live stream this weekend, either Saturday or Sunday. Me and Evan Johnson, hopefully, will be doing a live stream this weekend. And we will talk about the end of the pandemic and what that means for everybody. And that'll be about it. So stay tuned. Pay attention to the Facebook and YouTube and Twitter postings, because I will be announcing that live stream just as soon as we get scheduling figured out. In the meantime, hope everybody has a great rest of your day, a great rest of your week. Don't get too drunk this weekend. I intend to. Have a good one, everybody.